Well, hello. I always forget it has the little logo animation now after the countdown stops and before we start, and I always start talking, and then it's just awful. But hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to September's Back to School .NET MAUI Community Stand-Up. I am not back to school, and I don't have kids, so it means nothing to me. However, all the kids on my street went back to school, and that has been very fun because I watched them very upset trod down the street in the morning with their backpacks, like, oh.
And what they do though, Maddie, is they go to school and then immediately come right back home with COVID.
So I hear. All of my teacher friends are out. So that's very good. But
we've been seeing that here too.
Yeah. And then happy football season to the like 4 of you who celebrate. Apparently, engineering, you'd think it's this male-dominated field, right? And you'd think like men like football. There we go, Allan. I hate the Bills, but that's fine. Men like football, right? That's like a stereotype we follow in America and in North America, right? It was so hard for me to find enough people to join the fantasy football league for our team, for like our engineering team. Frustrating. But, Vikings fan, Tom, I like it. I was the only one on my trivia team who knew that the Vikings were the only logo with a mustache. That I was very excited about. Anyways, happy football, happy school, happy community stand-up, happy almost .NET 8, 2 months. Happy release of Shiny, which is why we have our wonderful friend Allan here, who will introduce himself in a minute before we bump in. I'm Maddy. I'm a PM on the Maui team. We do this every month. I usually talk a little bit about some blogs that came out, and then my counterpart, Dave, can introduce himself.
Dave Ortinau, product manager.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
No, that's good. I just don't like when people think I'm a project manager. Because yeah, that's not what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I am not a spreadsheet tracking down deliverables, checking off boxes kind of guy. So, but I'm glad. I feel like we had this last month without you, I think. Or you had it last month without me.
Yes.
And then I had it the month before without you.
Yes.
So this is the first time we've been back together for a while.
Oh, it's so nice to see you.
Yeah. So we have a ton of really cool stuff to talk about today. As per usual, I kind of catch up on all the news and everything right away before we get going with the work day on Thursdays. First Thursday of the month, and it's always right before the next .NET release, pretty much. So yeah, we've got a lot to talk about today.
Yeah, and we have our special guest who's going to take the second half with some, I don't know, demos, whatever. Wonderful community member, library writer, creator, maintainer, general cool dude, Allan Ritchie. Usually. Yeah, generally cool dude.
Well, he's in Canada. It's cold up there.
Yeah, there was no Canada jokes this time, Dave. I'm a little bit disappointed, to be honest.
I'm just getting warmed up.
No, that's fair. I just mean on Twitter, usually you have this big meme, and that's the opening, and that's how.
Well, haven't you noticed my significant absence from Twitter? You haven't felt the void.
What's the other one you go to now? I don't even know anymore. Apparently, I'm not cool. I mean, I don't feel too bad because Dave responds with like rad and cool.
Yeah.
Stuff like total 70s kid.
Yeah. I've just I've kind of not been on social media much lately, so for no other reason than just didn't miss it much. But I miss the people. Honestly, I miss interacting with people. But in general, sanity, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it's a pretty nasty place. I hate being on Twitter sometimes too.
Yeah. I mean, I don't preach, abstain from all social media, blah, 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 do what you want to do.
I still check Twitter, or excuse me, X, the artist
Twix. It's Twix. We need to get this going.
Twix is good. I still check it, and like occasionally I'll tweet. I will respond if I see myself tagged, but it's not constant. And then I just don't get enough like traction on Mastodon or anything, so I just don't. I don't know. I don't think to open it.
I don't like it. It's kind of slow.
Yeah.
Forever. I don't know what I'm doing in it.
Yeah, and the paragraphs are too big. Like the thing about Twitter I always liked was they were short and I could read them before I got distracted. So I don't know. That's why we have these once a month. So you can heckle us here. They are just as fun. Cool. All right, let's hop into it, I guess.
Got some blogs for us?
Let's do some blogs first. The speaking of Twitter and their terror, They have yet again broken the URL list. So I have to go back to GitHub gists for our links. I forgot to make a shortened link for this, so sorry in advance, but it will be in the bio of this video if you're watching later. And I just sent it in the chat, and I'll send it again a couple times. These are your links for today. Bunch of stuff in here. I do kind of like this better because Dave sends me one giant message with all of the links. And so like 10 minutes before stand-up starts. And with the URL list, I had to individually copy paste all the links in. This one I could just take the block and copy paste them in. So that was nice. Saved me some time. But all right, let's do some fun ones. And then we'll have some chat. We'll have some real chat here as a family. I'm just gonna give it some time for other people to join. And then we will let Dave take over, and then we will let Allan take over. So cool. Exploring doc layout from the Maui Community Toolkit. So I love Community Toolkit blogs because I don't really get to spend a lot of time in the Community Toolkit unless Gerald tells me to go check something out. So this was cool. I didn't actually know we had this until I read this blog. Very exciting. But yeah, it's like basically like docking things. Top left, bottom right of the layout. And that's cool. So if you want something that looks like, for example, your Twitch screen or your YouTube screen, there's like the right side dock and the bottom dock and all that stuff. So this is very easy. And Leo Marie is always great about her blogs. Well, easy peasy one. I found out that Almir, who is a constant feature on the community stand-up, now has a .NET News article coagulation thing he is writing. So that's nice. Coagulation isn't the word. I don't know. I'm on my second
curation, compilation.
Compilation's good. Yep. So similar to Sam's Sands of Maui, which is wonderful, and we show a lot on here. Here is kind of a .NET content editors team recap. And I think a lot of these are ones he wrote, so that's cool. So feel free to check those out. This is a blog I have not seen before. So this is Devikaran? I don't know. I'm sorry about butchering your name. It's right here. Very cool. And this blog reads to me like a scientific paper. It is so factual, and I like it. Just like preliminary rationale. Like great. That's a good heading. But it's about migrating. This is a really nice thing to like copy paste and send to your boss if they ask, because it's very professionally written. So I like that. Unlike blogs I write where every time anyone edits them, they're like, can you have less exclamation points? Like, can you not say, isn't this the coolest thing ever? Exclamation point in a blog that's going on, the Microsoft blog. And I'm like, I literally had something edited out of my most recent blog post that was like, I can't even remember. I said something about how the XAML support in the new VS Code extension is not there yet. And I was like, your mileage may vary, but like, it's going to be great later. Don't worry about it. And someone was like, can you like write this in a formal sentence? And I was like, I'm sorry. I can't actually.
It's excitement.
It's excitement. I'm just excited all the time. What can I say? This is why Dave writes the preview blogs, for those of you who don't know. Another thing that people have asked about is how to use the private NuGet feeds for Maui, especially to get the most recent ones, and then pulling those into Azure pipelines. This I thought was a very good blog. It just came out yesterday. I haven't read it too deeply, but walks you through Azure DevOps, just grabbing the private NuGet feeds and using those for your Maui builds. I think if you are doing builds for .NET Maui, I highly recommend either Azure Pipelines or GitHub Actions just in general. App Center, as the first line in here, there's no App Center support for Maui yet. I don't know if App Center support for Maui is coming. I'm kind of asking customers to focus on pipelines and GitHub Actions just because they're better anyways. They can do more. So it's worth it to just start it. Yeah, I wish I had this article many times over the past year. I agree. President not sure one. LOL. Cool. Okay, so I'll answer a quick question here by Tomahawk. It's pretty good. Have we fixed the tremendous amount of bugs in .NET Maui? We fixed a ton in .NET 8. And .NET 8, like Dave said, there's another release probably next week. It should be the RC, release candidate, or one more preview.
No, release.
Okay, release candidate, so that's exciting. And it will ship in November as stable. It is a lot better. You can follow along on the GitHub. One thing that people don't know and that we don't actually talk about enough, and we were considering talking about this month until Allan so politely joined us, was how we do our regression testing and how we're doing our like issue tracking. So we're basically scoring items in the GitHub based on the amount of comments and thumbs ups and emoji reacts and blah, 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 blah. And they're given a score that we have. And we have like a huge dashboard of all of the issues in Maui ranked by score. And we're prioritizing them that way. So we've knocked off like a significant amount of score for .NET 8. The number of issues is probably like, I don't know if it's reflective of the amount of work we've done or not, because some of the issues were huge. Some of the issues were like very minor, but, you know, had a bunch of underlying impacts. So I don't know. If people are interested in learning more about the score, let us know. We would definitely talk about it on the community stand-up at some point. I think it's very cool, but I don't know if people actually are interested in it. And I'm getting the little Wi-Fi signal. So if my connection drops out,
we'll take over. You froze up a little bit, but you're back.
Okay.
Your audio stayed good. So.
Dave's got his Canadian jokes ready.
Yeah, there we go. All right.
Yeah,
so
I'm good for it, eh?
Honestly, maybe I'll pretend my internet dies, because the next thing I want to talk about a little bit is something I know many of you saw. Visual Studio for Mac is being retired. What a nice way to put it. This came out last week, and I know that there was a lot of mixed emotions about it. One thing I will say that was not allowed to force people to put in the blog, and I'm technically not supposed to be like preaching, but just so everybody knows, no one on the VS Mac team lost their job. They were all redeployed to other parts of Microsoft. So we were able to save everyone's jobs. I know a lot of people love the folks on the VS for Mac team. I personally love a lot of them. And so I've seen that question a lot, and I think I was not allowed to put it in any official statement. So here's the official-ish statement on Community Stand-Up. Just an FYI. But we are retiring Visual Studio for Mac in a year from the end of August 31st, 2024. I am very sad about it. There were a lot of discussions and arguments and planning and things that went into this. It does feel strong. I know. One thing, the reason I'm bringing it up here, besides that I know that a lot of Maui developers use VS Mac and Xamarin developers, this decision was made completely in isolation of the future of .NET MAUI. I kind of knew that everyone was going to see this and be like, Maui's next. Maui is not next. I can tell you this very confidently because everyone on Maui has their job. And I feel like we wouldn't be allowed to do these community stand-ups anymore if they were planning on killing us. Also, we wouldn't be like putting a bunch of work into .NET 8. We have a lot of customers already shipping with Maui that have like business critical applications on Maui. There is no alternate for those customers to just stop using it. So don't worry, Maui is not next. I can't, I guess, predict the future forever, but like for now, for the foreseeable future, we'll see. Maui's in good shape. Yes, I always found it a little odd that there were a bunch of different IDEs too. So yeah, so a good question that comes up next is what the heck do I do if I'm using a Mac primarily? We did just release the preview of our VS Code experience. So questions about that. It is the same license as Visual Studio. The reason we did that, C# IntelliSense itself, totally free open source MIT license. Support for a solution explorer and some like specific Maui stuff is behind the Visual Studio license. We did that because we had to like protect basically users, blah, blah, blah. It gives you support. It gives you like real things. Community is free for you if you're not like building something that goes to millions and millions of customers, right? If you have less than 5 people on your dev team or something, I don't know. There are terms, but community is very generous, just FYI. So you can try it out with that. If you had Visual Studio for Mac, you have a Visual Studio subscription. So go ahead. But we are putting like proprietary Visual Studio features into Visual Studio Code through extensions, such as the Solution Explorer. And so that's why it has to be behind the license. I don't make the rules. Don't get mad at me. That's all I have to say to you. All right? Great. So VS Code extension, cool, because we own it and it's pretty cool and it's great. And we are working a lot on, like VJ just put in the chat, like editor experience, all those different things. Making sure that the quick refactorings and stuff that you expect are there. Making sure that the things that you need to build and deploy your app work. Hot reload is coming. I believe I'm supposed to see a demo of it after this. We'll see. We'll see if it actually works. I'm very excited. Better XAML and IntelliSense, all those things. We're looking at, if we can do remote development, like Mac to Windows and Windows to Mac in VS Code without it being too heavy. We don't want to like take VS and shove it into VS Code. That is not the plan. We just want to make sure that VS Code and VS Code users especially feel really comfortable developing for .NET. And that for VS Mac users, you are comfortable with VS Code if that's the route you want to take. Where else do I want to go with this? There's so many thoughts. Okay. If you are a VS Mac developer who wants to stay in an IDE, there are a bajillion extensions in VS Code that we don't maintain, but like we'll make it feel more like an IDE. That's an option. But there's also, you could use VS Windows in a Parallels or in a dev box. That is an option. I know some people who like to develop on a Mac or developing on a Mac because they like developing on a Mac, believe it or not. So running Windows in a VM is probably not your favorite option. I highly recommend checking out JetBrains Rider. I think it is a great tool. They do have a license, so just be careful of that. Make sure you're whatever. But yeah, we're listening. I believe there was a hotline mail that Anthony set up for the VS Mac, like for concerns about your enterprise in particular. I'll see if I can find it and pop it in the chat. But just FYI, you're going to be okay. We're listening very carefully. Maui is not going anywhere. And if there's something that you feel like you cannot live without, that you're going to be missing in VS Mac, please let us know, because we will figure out a way to either address it or give you a workaround or whatever it is. One other thing that came up, and I saw a blog about it, which is great. You do not need VS Mac anymore to do remote pair to Mac builds, yada, yada. You haven't actually for a while. So you can just use a Mac build host without VS Mac on it at all. And you have been able to. So just a heads up. Here's a little blog about if you want to do some preparation for it. But we also will just install everything for you if you pair to the Mac. We just do it. So yeah. Couple questions. I'll try and go quick because I ran into Dave's time quite a bit. Sorry. Do you feel the lack of VS for Mac may hinder adoption of Maui? Not so much, because we've noticed a lot of people new to .NET and new to Maui are actually in VS Code. So I'm hoping that this actually helps the adoption. Only time will tell. Most like standard traditional .NET developers aren't on Mac anyways. Like they're on Windows. So, they're okay with the IDE. But I do think for people like totally new to .NET, VS Code is really attractive, especially if they're already doing like JavaScript or something. They'll be comfortable there. What does it mean for VS Mac investment for the next year? From what I understand, it is just maintenance mode and like critical security fixes only. We do have preview support for .NET 8. I think Allan said he is actually demoing in VS Mac today in .NET 8. So you will see that working with your own two eyes.
Not in .NET 8.
Yeah.
I am working in .NET 8.
Okay.
But I blame David for that.
Yeah. All right. That makes sense. But yeah, it is just maintenance mode. So yeah. And then, oh, okay, VJ. Yeah, this is something I've heard a lot. Switching between terminal and editor in VS Code. So definitely try the Maui extension. It does have like a regular like build debug menu that you click and you say like, go to my iOS machine. And then it does that. And then let me know if that helps. But yeah, we're trying to make sure that we respect VS Code and don't turn it into an IDE. But we also want to make sure that it's like easy and friendly for people to use. So we have a fun challenge ahead of us, but you still have a year of VS Mac being in support. And then it's not like we're going to uninstall it from your machine. You will be able to use it. That's okay. So yeah, that's my rant. Please feel free to poke people towards me if that is something of a concern. If you need to hop on a call with like your leadership in your company and they're having like a meltdown over the future of Maui and did you make this big mistake investment, Dave and I take these calls. We are happy to talk to them. Yeah. So fun month. It's been a great, totally slow, uneventful August. My Twitter is definitely not afire. fire dumpster fire. I almost.
This is what brought me back. I hadn't opened Twix in months until it seems like until the VS Mac blog post went out, and then suddenly I was like, I guess I should probably go answer some questions once people started trying to draw connections between VS Mac announcement and some potential future Maui announcement. Which
I had a beer with our VP last week who reaffirmed to me when I was very upset after half a beer about the amount of tweets I've been getting about VS Mac and Maui, that Maui is not going anywhere. So that was nice. But
at least no one's made any like memes of you yet. So
memes of her.
Oh,
you, Dave. You get a lot.
There's definitely the meme content creators out there, and you know who you are. We have no idea who you are.
I really don't know, and I want
you are on fire. Y'all are on fire.
You had
so have fun with it, but it's so far way off the mark. But have fun.
Just FYI, my husband and some of my friends are software engineers, and they use the internet. And now I'm getting roasted in group chats by your memes, and none of them are .NET developers. So, F you, meme creators. They're very funny, but I get them sent to me by people who aren't even in our community, and it makes me sad. So, anyways, Dave, it's your turn.
Go ahead and share my screen if you wouldn't mind.
Oh, I can do that. Add to stage.
So dovetailing on this discussion about VS Mac and VS Code, I thought I would share some of what you could look forward to in VS Code land. There are 3 options for you as of right now for Maui development. Of course, the C#.NET Maui Dev Kit, yada yada yada, the official extension. .NET Meteor, which has been out there for a bit, from Nikita Romanov. I just heard via email this week that he has added, Nikita has added hot reload support for XAML, as well as some XAML IntelliSense, some rudimentary IntelliSense. So check that out, perhaps. Of course, as Maddy just indicated, we are working on some of these things. But you have options there. And then the Uno platform has been working on their own extension, which has some level of debug support for Maui. I don't think that it does hot reload, but I could be corrected in the comments. Feel free. For Maui specifically. But as far as, helping out the ecosystem, if you're an Uno developer, you're using that toolkit, you have the hot reload support and more from that extension. I know Avalonia has an extension as well, but I don't believe it does anything for Maui developers, so it didn't show up in the query here. But worth a mention that Avalonia has been working on their own extension. And then as far as like stuff that you would be missing perhaps in VS Code that you have today in VS from, hey, how do I start an Android or an iOS, emulator simulator? You have an extension for that. How do I do all kinds of other things? Let's see. One of the other things that I was looking up was plist, right? So can I easily do plist? Do I have to open Xcode? Yep, there are extensions for this. This one looks pretty good. It's got over 4,000 downloads. You can't hear my dog banging in his room, can you? Dogs with long tails, man. Big dogs with long tails. But I mean, this looks great, right? So I think one of the really cool things that we have in VS Code that never really blossomed in VS Mac is just the enormous number of extensions that are available. And so a lot of these are the same extensions that developers using React Native or Flutter or native development have been using for years. And so now we can start to take advantage of that rich ecosystem as well. So I think that's a huge, huge benefit. A couple of other things from our good friend, John Dick, lead engineer of the Maui team. He has a .NET tool for Android, SDK management, and AVD and device management. So if you are a fan of doing things from the command line, this tool I have found to be really, really useful. And there is a Apple Dev tool, .NET tool as well. So from the .NET CLI, you can do many of the same things that you would need to do. I find it to be extremely useful. I spend a lot of time. I primarily personally develop from the Mac. And so, these are tools that I use all the time. I've become pretty comfortable with bouncing between terminal instances and the IDEs or the editors that I use. Some other cool news. I wanted to kind of feature some community things that I have noticed. And so Grail Kit is happy birthday to themselves. Congratulations, Grail Kit, on another year. So back in September 2015, shipped their first release. If you're not familiar with Grail Kit, you should totally check this out. Tons of very robust, complex UI components. And what is really interesting about Grail is, for the most part, these are all just composite Maui or Xamarin controls, depending on which toolkit you're using. And then next up, same thing from Grail. They have been working on Grail Studio, which is a Visual Studio for Windows extension. I think we've featured this before. I don't think we've had them on the show recently, have we, Maddy? I think it's been a while. The show, the stand-up. But this is really cool because right within the IDE, right within Visual Studio, you can be composing pages and then including them in your existing solution. You don't have to go download a new solution and merge things yourself. You can do everything with your existing solution right in line, whether they're components, whole pages. You basically have a bit of a drag and drop wizard thing going on here. And then in addition to this, one of my favorite things is they have a panel for managing your vector images, your font icons, and things like that. And so you can just drag those onto your editor space and get the special ASCII things. It'll add the font and register it for you and do all the code things that need to happen. So check out their YouTube. This link is in the list of links as well. And then hot off the presses, Uno platform has been working on something really interesting. I think I first caught wind of this maybe just a month ago, but they have a whole new release today for the whole platform. So this is awesome ecosystem news. But in addition to that, they have, or as part of this, they have .NET MAUI embedding. I love anything that ends in embedding. We have similar things in MAUI and in Xamarin Forms. What this enables you to do, along with, I think perhaps this is the cool, open source ecosystem part, a couple of PRs that they made to MAUI helped improve this whole experience from a developer standpoint. But essentially, you are able to embed a whole variety of community components and extensions. So if you're using let's see, Sync Fusion, if you're using Grail, if you're using Progress Telerik, if you're using Grape City, you can now be embedding these directly into your Uno application, even though these components are all MAUI components, right? So for the same, in the same way, if you have a MAUI application and you have a library of components, as we know many, if not most, enterprise companies will do this. And Allan, you can back me up on this because you consult with a lot of companies. They'll have a library, whether they package as a NuGet or it's just a library, and they have their standard components, their own version of the editor, the entry, the button that adheres to their behavior spec, to their styles and whatnot. Those same controls and components written for MAUI are now possibly shareable, not possibly. With this release, you could now figure out how to get those working in an Uno application. So you could have a MAUI application, Uno application within the same organization, sharing assets and resources, which I think is super awesome for the .NET community. So I would imagine if we watch this video, I could scrub through it. You can't hear the awesomeness. Yeah, but look at this. Beautiful. These are MAUI controls running within an Uno application because they're all based in .NET. I think that's super awesome for the ecosystem and the MAUI control toolkit. Cool. Anybody? No?
They had Esri as well too. I saw that today.
Yeah, Esri was in here.
That's a big one. It's used by a lot of people.
I don't know if y'all can hear that. They got some bumping music going on there. .NET all the things. That's right, Sasha. All right. So I do have a bunch more, but I am going to kind of gloss over some of these. Within the community, I've been noticing this because while I haven't been on Twix, I have been on LinkedIn a little bit and kind of monitoring what news is happening there. Because Montemagno is always telling me, go post that on LinkedIn. Go. And I'm like, I don't really spend much time on LinkedIn. But I've been noticing all these people posting about, all these developers posting about their new plugins for MAUI. And I'm like, what is going on? Lo and behold, as usual, who's at the root of this whole thing? Gerald's causing this. He had published this template for how you can essentially create a super simple plugin to do whatever that simple thing is that you need to do, and then distribute it as a package. And so if you clone this plugin Maui feature repo, it'll kind of guide you through the process of a pattern, essentially, to do that. So what are some of the things that we have seen? Well, Gerald himself has an audio plugin. I think has been out for a while, and I think I've actually used it somewhere. He has a calendar store plugin if you ever need to do calendar related things. He has a screen brightness plugin if you need to be able to control somebody's brightness. Let's say that you are one of the hundreds of airlines that use Xamarin and Maui, right? You might need to turn up that brightness when you're about to scan that barcode. Anybody ever been standing there trying to get on the airplane? Oh, we can't scan that. Could you turn your brightness up, please? Well, a developer can do it for you in Maui. Pedometer. I guess if you don't, if you're doing a health app, you might want to do that. And then, yeah, screen recording, screen security. Let's see, screen security is from Bertani, Abri Bertani. So I think this one's pretty cool because if you have an app, maybe you're doing something in the financial space, as the hundreds of financial institutions that use Xamarin and Maui need, and you're doing some multitasking where you're switching between apps, oftentimes you'll want to kind of blank out that screen so that you're not just leaking personal information, right? And so this is a plugin that will allow you to do that. Let me pick just a couple of more here. Add to calendar, app rating, another calendar plugin. Here's one from Mr. John Dick for just simply popping some content. So if all you need is the ability to present content, like a little toast at the bottom, you can do that. Of course, the community toolkit has pop-ups, popovers, toasts, all that sort of thing as well. Segmented control. How many times have I built a segmented control? And you know my favorite way to do a segmented control, Alan? Do you know what it is?
A grid?
Radio buttons, man.
Oh, sorry. Jeez.
It's a set of radio buttons. That's all it is. Sigh. We've got another health plugin here. This one, I believe, is just doing Apple. But if I recall, did I grab the link for... Alan, you did something with the health stuff, right? You've got a
health... I linked it.
You linked
over
it?
Over in the chat window.
Shiny Org Health. So good old Alan. Is this helping make you fitter?
No.
So works with both Apple Health and Google Fit. And you can query distance, step counts, calorie intake, heart rate. Nice. Nice. You know, I've been doing more fitness lately. I got a withing scale, and I've got, so I'm getting more metrics than I ever have on how I'm unhealthy. And it pisses me off to no end. When I get off that thing and I get the alert later in the day, and it's like, yeah, you are unhealthy. You are not, your cardio is crap. And I'm just like, I run like 4 or 5 times a week. What is, I'm so mad. I'm going to prove this thing wrong.
Try being a woman where the body fat percentage is just like absurdly high, even if you don't have a lot of body fat, but you do.
Yeah.
Also, I tried to do the age filter on TikTok where it tells you what you're going to look like when you're older. And I almost had to take a day off. Like, I was like, my skin can't be that bad, right? Anyways.
Well, I have seen your ring cam photos. So.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Anyways. All right, wrap it up. Let's get to Alan. Come on.
One last community thing that to share here. A custom shell Maui. I saw this pop up just this morning in my Twix feed. And I actually had been asked about this recently, I think on the Maui upgrade. And Maddy, that's probably something, if you wouldn't mind putting in the chat, is the Maui upgrades email. If you are upgrading from Xamarin to Maui and you've got a question about something, or you're running into a blocking issue that you can't work around, use this email so that we can loop in some engineers and help you out. So this is how do you do some custom animation stuff when you have a shell application. So That's certainly worth checking out. And actually, I did skip over a few things that I have to mention. Sorry, Maddy and Allan. 7.0 service release going out next week. You can check out the draft release notes there, and an 8.0 release. And if you want a comparison, that's the fixes for the service release, and this is the fixes for the Net 8 release. So which one do you want, Allan? Which one? Net 8.
I have to sell on release, man. That's not release.
Net 8 release candidate next week comes with a go live support license for production. We got tons of companies doing it. You can do it too.
Well, I am doing it.
And
again, your fault.
And I did want to call attention to this. We have been pushing more and more upgrade docs. And so you now have Android and iOS binding library docs. Okay. So if you've been struggling with how to get those things working, there you go. And then we also have added this, how do I upgrade Xamarin Forms to Maui and adopt single project? So, you know, the basic flow is keep the project separate. This is how do I merge into a single project? What are the things I need to be aware of? So new documentation all the time. Please let us know how it's going. Use the Maui migration email. And with that, I want to know all about Shiny and what Shiny's doing.
You didn't even share the blog post, though.
I gave it to Maddie.
I had that
it's in the
blog
links.
post that's written like.
Well, you should pull up the blog post.
Yeah, pull it up. It's in the links, but hold on. Let me get
toot your own horn, buddy.
Yeah.
Jeez.
You're so
You've
cool.
already
Come on, you're Canadian goose.
20 minutes
Toot your
from
own
now.
horn. Is that no, too
That
far?
was bad.
No, that was a border too far. Got it.
I liked it.
Are we sharing my screen? What are we doing here?
Oh yeah, hold on. Add to stage.
Maddie has
Sorry.
to
I always forget that
allow
I'm the person who clicks the buttons. It's so
You need
loud.
to zoom. You need to zoom.
Yeah, you should.
Nobody
Okay,
can read that.
we didn't set that up either, but I knew it was coming.
There
Easy
you
to
go.
do on a Mac. I'm even going to do my demos, even though I'm not going to do any real technical demos. I'll show like a template demo, but it's really easy to do in VS for Mac. And I figured, you know, why not give it one last kick while we're here, right? So Shiny is kind of the collection of plugins I've been writing. I don't know. When did Xamarin start? Dave?
Long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. So I've been writing this junk for a while. I don't write a lot of UI stuff. I don't write the pretty stuff. Everybody else seems to do that. I write a lot of the architectural stuff that's needed for, you know, your background jobs, your Bluetooth, which is a big one, periodic jobs, GPS. I know Essentials has that, but I kind of do it all the background. So, you know, when your app goes away.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are using this. I don't know. I've got over a few million. Dave tends to complain at me if somebody's asking about something. So somebody must be using it. I know I use it for all my customers. So I released version 3 this week. It supports a hosting model. I have to support Xamarin still. I know that we're in the latest and greatest .NET MAUI era, but I still have a bunch of customers on Xamarin for another year, hopefully less. Obviously, I wanted to deliver on Maui, and there's other communities out there like Uno, which we talked about today. So Shiny does support all of them. So if you need like background uploads or BLE or any of that stuff, it will work for them. It was built that way. Mind you, I didn't want to get nagged. The only thing I don't do is .NET 6. So I said I'd mention that for you because .NET 6, well, it's LTS. It's not LTS for Maui. But they don't. Is that actually documented somewhere?
Yes.
Well, if you look at the official Maui support policy, it's clearly stated that
Does anybody ever read that though? Let's be honest.
I read
they
it.
do. They do once they start freaking out.
No, I never do. I guess I don't freak out enough.
Put it in the chat. The link is horrible. Sorry in advance.
Oh wow! I went from dark mode to light mode real quick there. Now I'm burning. Anyhow, there is a long blog post on this. It's in Maddy's gist, whatever we're calling it, gist. So you can look at it there. I'm not going to go through all this because, you know, I suck at writing blog posts, but it's in there. Everything that's going on. I have to write a lot more, but we've got these new Shiny documents. Like I said, they go. I wrote this in a JavaScript framework called Astro. It's pretty good for if anybody's doing documentations. This turned out pretty well. But I won't just keep talking. I will show a demo. I will show the templates because they make things a lot easier to get going. So, and this works in Windows as well, but I'll install them really quick there. So let's do .NET New, install Shiny templates.
What's your keyboard?
I like it.
Very clicky. I'm sorry. My Bluetooth one is dead. So I was like,
No, I'm not making fun. I want to know what your keyboard is.
I like it. That was a satisfying click.
It's a Corsair one. It's got the semi-noisy keys on it.
All right. Like it.
So it's all right. You got to get one. It's wired, so I don't have to worry about it because all the Bluetooth keyboards on Mac suck, right? Don't you have that problem?
Yeah.
No,
I just use the Mac one, and it's fine.
Yeah, but every other Bluetooth keyboard seems to just right. You're halfway typing and it just like skips or chokes for a second and drives you nuts.
Yep.
Right. All right. Let's open this up quick. I am going to do this in VS for Mac. It's just everyone goes, does that work in Windows? Yes, it works in Windows. The .NET New templates. All right. Let's go File New. And it'll load at some point. I don't know why create new project is so slow to find templates, but it is.
Yeah, I feel like it does some caching. So sometimes it is fast, but if you've updated it at all, it just like falls apart.
Yeah, so it takes a second. But anyhow, we've got it. So I've installed the templates. There's Shiny Maui application. This is really good. The templates are good if you got to get going because there's so much boilerplate. I don't know if you guys have ever had to work with like the Android manifest or any of the 600 plist files that go in Windows or iOS, Mac Catalyst.
Yep.
So this thing will do it all for you. So we're going to pick next. And there must be about 400 million types of plugins in here. It originally started with just Shiny. And then a couple people asked, well, can you include this? And now it's kind of grown to community size. I think I've got a whole bunch of Gerald stuff. Uranium UI, people seen those? Sharknado, SQLite, iOS CarPlay, and Android Auto. Those are kind of pain to set up. I don't know if anybody's done that. I set that up for me because I never remember how to do it.
Yeah.
I need documentation. As you get older, you need documentation that just kind of does it for you. Don't make me go click things. Just check a box, right? So anyhow, I'll just add a couple of these really quick, and then I'm going to go back to VS for Mac because, like I said, it's easier to zoom in that. And let's do.
Okay, so you're individually adding Shiny features that you're going to use?
Yep. And
does that keep the package smaller?
It's more to get people, because people don't read documentation, right? Didn't we just go over that, right? Nobody wants to read the docs. Nobody wants to read the support policies. So I finally just said, you know what? I'm just going to write something that people can go in, install, click a bunch of buttons, and out comes everything you need. Mm-hmm. I'm going to actually go back to VS for Mac so we can see it because I can't maximize that guy. And we'll do the same thing there. So we'll do Bluetooth. I'm not going to install everything. Nobody wants to see everything. I'll just install a couple, the big guys. So Shiny as a whole is, like I said, it's a framework for the hosting, but it's all the modules that people usually care about. So your Bluetooth, your jobs, your GPS, geofencing, background uploads and downloads. Surprisingly, that a lot of people don't use that. It's a big one. You can't just load up HTTP client and hope to God your image makes it. I don't know that people actually realize that. If you just upload an image and your app goes to the background, there's a good chance that image might not have finished. I don't know. Am I crazy? It's like the lowest used, and it's like my biggest used. So whatever.
Everybody use that.
It is. It's like the first thing I install. I don't know. Maybe I do.
Because when they test it, they just keep the app open.
Fair.
They test the rude paths.
Yeah. So there's a lot of testing. Like I said, Shiny works. Most of its magic in the background. It's not Maui constrained. It has nothing to do with UI. But it's really good at helping stuff run in the background. So you need special logging, doing debugging. I've got stuff like writing logs to a file, writing logs to a SQLite. I even install some pages for you so you can read the database and read the logs if you need to. Again, I only had like 20 minutes. Thanks, Dave, for doing a demo, so I won't bother with that. But once you install it,
if you get a chance,
what's that?
Can you zoom in a little bit, or I don't know if you want to.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Here, I'll make it full screen. There we go.
Perfect. Love it. Thank you.
I can't see now, but
That's
I guess
fine.
it's important
You don't
that
need to
everybody
see.
else can.
Kidding.
So this will put all the documentation of all the stuff you selected. Shiny, but like I said, it has the great documentation now. It will set up all of your Maui program. So this big honking guy, if you've had to set up a lot of the servicing, it will set up all of your info P list, which probably isn't going to open nicely in this. So I'll open in VS Code. And then I will zoom in on that, of course, too. So all this junk, it's setting up all of that for you because, again, people don't know this. They don't want to go in and figure this out. I don't blame them. It can be a lot. I mean, when I open the Android manifest, it's even worse. If you start getting into Bluetooth and backgrounding, like there's all this junk. I don't even remember half of it half the time. Something's not working. It generally leads to an exception. In Shiny, I'm like, what did I miss? So that's why the templates are great. And you don't have to worry about it. Age is no longer a factor. It's just experience.
Wow.
Wow. What's that?
That's a nice little that's a nice way to put it.
Who needs documentation? Just do it for me, right? Yeah. So it'll go through and set this all up for your Bluetooth stuff and get you out of the box. If you have an existing app, you don't want to write net new. I closed my tab, so hang on one second. We'll bring this over. That's still big enough?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So online, there is also an app builder. So if you don't feel like using my templates for whatever reason, or you don't have net new, you can come in here. Again, I don't do pretty UIs, so don't complain. But you can check a few boxes here and look at all this wonderful stuff it puts down here. It puts links, gives you a nice little CS Proj edition, your Maui program, just like we saw out of the template, the manifest for you, again, if you've got a huge thing here, in your info P list. And if you're using some of the push stuff, like this guy, it'll even create like your entitlements and your app at delegates. You can just copy and paste. So again, nice thing, saves me having to document and repeat in every single issue. Did you do A, B, or C? Because it happens every single time. So that's out of the box. How to get going the easiest. But I wanted to talk quickly about kind of what Shiny 3 is, because I know a lot of people have used it. Some of the big additions in this release are, I know a lot of people don't like reactive. I'm unfortunately hellbent at the hill I will die on. But if you're using BLE, that's one of the big deliverables in this one. So I'm going to bring over BLE Manager. And we'll bring that in. If you're using a peripheral, I'm not going to do any of the scanning stuff right now. All of those async methods are there now. Even when you had observables, you could do async, but that, again, people don't want to read the docs. So all of those async methods are there now. You don't have to go discovering characteristics or services like you did in past releases. I know a lot of people don't know BLE, but those that have used it, it's quite painful to go searching for all of it. So this guy does it under the hood. You just have to say, this is the service I want. This is the characteristic I want. And, give me some data. However it's going to work, return something for me. And that all works out. That's all the easy, simplified stuff. What's the other big one? Dave likes push notifications. I don't know why. It's like the smallest of all of the modules.
Because it's hard to set
Yeah,
up.
it is hard to do.
I guess when you factor in the server portion of it, it can be a bit of a pain.
Yeah.
What's hard about it on the client, though? I am curious. What do you find hard about it on the client?
It is probably mostly on the server side, but
all right. Let me. I'm going to spin up one more of these, and I'll put in push.
Probably the configuration. It's actually been a while since I did it, and probably the last time I did it was Urban Airship.
Oh wow, that is going back. So dude, Shiny has a push notification mechanism. The big sell for it is basically, if you used Urban Airship, I mean, you've obviously migrated that since. If you use like OneSignal or Firebase or any of those, you're probably bouncing around. The big sell from Shiny is you only have to do it in one place. You change one line of code and everything kind of moves to that new model. This was actually Dan Siegel of Prism that bugged me for the longest time. to go and add this. He was like, I hate doing this, dude. Can you just make it work? And so I was like, okay, it doesn't seem that bad. So the template here. And I guess the hardest part of it is, if we go to the Maui program, is it adds, where's my push? Where's my push? That guy right there. So it's adding the native push. I think that's what I picked. Hopefully that's what I picked. And you have to learn a lot about the manifest. Right, so it's got all this junk now, all the new notification stuff with Android 13, which again, people don't care about. They don't want to know what that is. Just do it for me. I just started getting bugs about Android 13 like a year ago, and I was like, well, I don't know. So I fix it here. You don't have to worry about it, right? You just have to go add that little thing.
Yeah.
Activities, if you're launching and you want to catch like a notification click in them, that all gets generated for you. I didn't even know what this did for the longest time until I had to actually use it. So that's out of the box. And to use it, it's pretty much, bring in the push manager, bring that in. So it's really like two methods and a delegate. So you register. You can register for your token by requesting access, if I can type. You'll await this guy. You get some sort of token. If the token equals success, then yeah, you've got your registration token. You can report it to the server. Then from your server side, you can start sending out all the push notifications. If you want to receive stuff in the background, there's this little thing. Shiny uses what's called delegates. Basically what they are, so you can do dependency injection, and Shiny can spin this stuff back up. So it's not like your traditional kind of .NET event, because .NET events required people to wire them in at specific points in your app. So if you're using Xamarin Classic or Xamarin Forms, a lot of people like to put things in app on start, which sounds great in theory, but it's really not when the app is starting. That's when Xamarin Forms was starting, not when your actual application was starting. And in a lot of cases, it wouldn't even get to Xamarin Forms, right? This is happening before Xamarin Forms or before Maui was getting involved. Now, Maui's great now because it's got all that stuff. It is actually a true app on start. But again, I'm supporting a little bit larger than Maui. So that's why delegates are a thing. There's no events. So with your delegates, you can do stuff like receive. So when somebody taps on their notification, if you want to receive push data in the background, and occasionally the token refreshes, but you don't want to have to monitor that constantly asking. This will just tell you when Firebase, it's usually only Firebase that kind of changes on you. This will tell you when it's gone bad. And all you have to do is call your server. Just tell it, hey, this is the new token. This is my user ID. Figure it out, right? So that is the client side aspects of it. That's two of the modules in Shiny that kind of just really get you going. I pointed those out because Dave said those were, which one's your favorite? I still think it's the transfers, but whatever. So that's what you get out of the box really quick. This will wire up for you. It does all the stuff. There is a Shiny server side component. It's not fully documented yet. Give me some time. I'm working on it. But it is actually fairly easy to use once you get in there and you start doing it with the templates, or if you just want to do it raw. I don't know. I think it's pretty simple. I use it for all my customers. There's several million people using this out there now in various components. Like I said, I had 20 minutes to show like the bare bones of 2 features and a template, but go check out the docs, shinylib.net, and read the blog post that's in Maddy's gist.
Love it. Does anyone have any questions while we have a couple minutes left? And Allan, thanks for doing it quickly. Sorry, we had so much to talk about. We're just so busy these days.
I had to leave some time, right?
Yeah. There's any way that the platform configuration, like Android Manifest from PLS and NuGet developing plugins? I don't quite understand this question.
Is there any way configuration? I think what he's saying is, can't the plugins just add this stuff?
Oh, probably.
Not really.
Okay.
Not really. I mean, there could be. I guess there could be like an add-in, like a Visual Studio add-in eventually.
Yeah.
I know James has bugged me about it a couple times, but it's just easy. Templates are just easier. And like I said, if you've got an existing app, you can go online to the website and just click some check boxes and it'll tell you what you need, right? Will I expand that to the community of the website? I don't know. I don't really do docs. My docs suck. If anybody wants to help with docs, I'm looking for you.
I doubt that your docs suck. I'm sure they are just fine.
You're very nice, Maddy. That's why I didn't put on my Buffalo Bills hat for the.
Aw, thanks.
You had it at the ready, though.
Oh yeah.
Well, only because she started.
Depending on how this thing went, you know.
I did have it at the ready. Well, it could just be at my desk. You never know.
Okay.
Was that it? I got one question.
Well,
that was it.
I love this because it's this is a lot of the real toolbox of what, building enterprise production applications often requires. We talk to so many customers, whether it's Bluetooth or push or the background stuff for sure comes up. It's like, how do I do this? And it's a complicated thing, especially when you're supporting multiple platforms and everything. Yeah. And you have I would say pretty tried and true, proven library that is widely used. And I love that it exists because that means we don't have to build and maintain it. But this is really cool stuff. And I'm glad that, of course, you've got the Maui support. We need to work hard on getting all those Xamarin applications moved over. So giddy up.
They still support Xamarin to help you move too. And I know there's some big boys using it. I've got a couple big guys on this
cool
right now that are on 3. So give it a try. Send polite complaints to GitHub.
Polite complaints.
Constructive.
Polite complaints accompanied by money.
Yeah.
Yeah. More money, the better, right?
Exactly.
For Allan, I wasn't asking you to send us bribes. Support the open source maintainer.
It's true.
Awesome stuff.
All right. Sweet. All right. I'm gonna call it because I don't see any more questions rolling in, and that's pretty good. Allan, thank you for joining us. Last time Allan was on stand-up, we gave him about 2 hours heads up. Today he got about 2 days heads up. So maybe next time he'll get like a whole week.
Almost.
So that's very exciting.
It's too much.
Hey everybody, enjoy September and enjoy .NET 8 RCs, and we will see you next month.
Bye.
Bye.